If you're done the assignment and you don't have your textbook, we're going to be using Visions 1 or the red one. Yeah. Okay? Red. If you're done.
Can I just know those things?
It doesn't make sense.
Or it doesn't work.
But you know that this side is here, this side. And then after you should be able to use yeah, this is how you can solve the area. Yeah. Using this. But I can maybe find an easier one for you guys. So you have to find the S, which is A plus B plus C divided by 2. And then after you just put it into this. This is something that I've never personally used before, but it's really big in Quebec. So they have a tendency to use Hurons a lot for some reason.
Maybe they're going to take my case. What? If I get to keep this,
So after this is done, it's basically the end of equivalence, and we're moving on to a new subject today. Okay?
so you'll be listening and be like, oh, well,
So,
something moved.
I literally just introduced
Kept the shop for shoes, bro.
What?
I would use Hurons.
You
get a right angle either way.
But it's because if you type that code, you know that this isn't necessarily I don't know this divided by 2. Not saying that exactly. So I would do Hurons. Really? Okay. So Huron, you need to calculate an S. It's easier than this one. Okay?
No, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah. So it's A. Yeah. So you do A plus B plus C, which is your 3 sides, divided by 2, you get an S. Then to find the area of the entire triangle, which is what you're trying to do, right? You do the square root of S times S minus A, S minus B, S minus C. Hey,
I didn't see the rule.
did you try to touch his ass? I'll zoom in.
No, not getting the way you well, which is you like.
I'm getting there for Air Forces.
Why you gotta have your air? By easy.
No, not by easy.
By easy.
So if you use this formula here, this, yeah.
What are they talking
This
about?
is Hurons, okay? So to find the area of a triangle, knowing all 3 sides. So you can really ignore the 120 degrees if you do it this way. Because they give you the 2 other sides for the perimeter.
Is it still 8 though?
So you use cosine law, so it's still So what you get for your S? 31, 31. You multiply the 2 square root.
And then now I have to do that.
So now you add this area, you know on rectangle. Right, so you find the area of this, right, so you find the area together to find the other side is also plus.
Solving for the area.
Plus.
Yeah, but then I'm gonna fancy by 50.
Yes.
I don't know what that kind
And
of.
then for the fancy, I just do this one.
With the triangle.
The triangle was helpful. Like what? So your beat does not require.
On BT here, we're usually gonna go around you first, like a pentagon.
Those are syllables.
And I do that for Yardi too.
Yeah, it's 31.
Or else it would be too difficult. Well, I guess you could use cosine law, right?
Give us 5 minutes.
We'll have 5 more minutes, okay? But after that, we're gonna hand it in.
Not doing this, who gives a fuck?
Well, I care, Evan. Right, Evan? I want you to do your best. If you can only do one question, that's fine. But at least one question. Okay? Yeah. The last one is pretty quick if you know Hurons. Like, I've never used Hurons before. I was never taught that in high school. Like,
Oh my god.
Is it a math teacher? You have to learn to after the book.
but add it to your memory aid. Because I would have broken up the triangle. That's how I would have done it.
How would you do that? You know, you should.
Alexa, you know what we're getting your results back?
No, I'm so anxious about it.
I don't want to know if I'm reading mine today.
Oh, that means probably in a couple of days then if you got his about it.
Where do we put this?
It's a fresh start. 2020 new me. Just like students and things. At least do it together. Right? You're allowed to work in pairs. So. I came to
Why did you go down to the office? Sir? You're gonna call me down too for my history results.
It's fourth period.
What?
You're still getting negative.
His word. History. Yeah.
It was only like 11:06.
Let me see. White paper or just white paper is fine. Yeah, but I see.
Am I doing it yet? No, like when I was sitting in front of you guys when we had the test, and like I needed help, you didn't give me answers. So like,
Yeah, I know, I'm not even sure.
here you go, sir. The paper's got it real quick.
Bitch,
I don't understand.
Oh my god.
Oh, fuck, I didn't bring my earphone. No.
I got it. You got it. I got it.
Yeah, it's not so dry. Too short.
What? That's true.
You're short. So what dress for
I don't know
him?
how. No one beat it?
I don't wanna
I
get
would
up
say
for
change
you.
it to positive.
I feel like you guys put a 60.
Oh.
Like reverse it, but it's not
See,
valid
it's
anymore.
not
You want me to do
working.
60? You want me to do 60
I don't wanna get up, I said.
I'll be with you. That might work. That might.
I don't know.
You guys were.
Yeah. Go on.
It says
It doesn't
error
work
when
on
I
Oh, you
try
can't
to
screw
start.
it.
In your cup, yeah.
Yeah. And
There's
when
a
you're
way.
about to say, so we're not good
But
at
we're not gonna.
that.
Okay,
Error.
just, I see see what you guys did.
Open the sound effects.
So you wanna figure it out? I'm gonna figure it out myself.
So we would still get the bonus.
Oh, probably. If you got up to there, then it's
Thanks.
just a plug and chug at the end, right? That doesn't really test your knowledge. Of course, that's your knowledge, right? How you got there. That doesn't really test about it.
We got back there. You have Twitter? Oh, share.
I'll add, what's your name again?
Can I send you something? Yeah.
I can. I'm gonna stream video. I'll screen record it.
Did anyone else finish it but didn't hand it in because it's still in their notebook?
Give me like.
So I did 2.5 questions.
Okay.
Can I have that in?
Yeah. It's a little anxiety. Okay. So you can just hand in what you have now. Okay, I'm gonna pass around. I'll give you 2 seconds to finish what you're writing. And then after we're gonna get going, okay? Well, you're gonna handle the next class.
Honestly, I can tell. I always knew it.
No, I was. I thought she
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So I actually don't know what we're doing.
You're Sweden, right?
Like, what are you doing?
She's like,
Your dentist girl, your
I thought you were. I just thought it was like a whole big thing. I thought it was already up there.
You don't mind
Boys?
Yeah.
So I have a paper here.
It's like one of the properties that dragon.
Molly?
Dragon looks like. She has not natural. I'm gonna go on it and then.
She went through the whole transition.
I like
You like my house? I didn't
looks like this.
Open your mouth.
Do you want to tell me this?
I got
You
it.
haven't paid
I
attention?
cannot believe. I mean, look.
No, I'm big for this.
Look. I don't have time.
No.
Yeah, we can finish it. She's
Molly, last chance. Alright. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do
She's like that. Because a teenager.
too many tabs open.
I could show you.
Let me just switch this around.
Hey, baby.
Okay. So we're done the first part of our agenda today. And what we're going to do now is move on to our second part, okay? This is going to be what I call an interactive activity. So it's going to mean that we're going to change it up. And instead of us doing a traditional kind of math class, I want you guys to conclude what I'm trying to get at, okay? There's going to be some sort of pattern in what I'm going to show you. And I want you guys to figure it out for me, kind of thing. If you understand the pattern, if you discover the pattern yourselves, then it'll be common sense for you, so you won't have to study. If I tell you what the pattern is, then you'll forget. Sounds good? I'm just trying for it to stick in your brain. And it's really logical, and it's not like, it won't hurt your brains too much. Okay? So it's on page 127 of the textbook, if you have it. If not, we're going to do the first one together. All right. So in the first question, can you just get the lights on the way up? I have 3 triangles, Okay. Below are few non-congruent triangles. What does non-congruent mean? So they're not the same. Okay. So in part A of the question, it says verify that these triangles are equivalent. So if they're asking me to verify whether or not they're equivalent, what am I really looking for? What does equivalence mean? Same what? What have you just been doing on your same area, right? So even if they're not the same triangles, I want to see if they're, right, if they're equivalent. So what I want for you to do is solve for the area of all three. Okay? It should be base times height divided by 2. And this here is an equilateral triangle, so the height is half of the base. Okay? You can use the shortcut. So 6 times 3 would be 18. Divided by 2 is 9. So these should all be equal to, yeah. Okay? So that's what you're doing first. So you can work together, okay? William, I want you to work together on this, okay? There's 3 triangles. I want you to find the area of each, okay?
Only me?
Well, everyone.
I mean, you just said my name.
Because I wanted you to pay attention. All right? And I'll be doing it at the same time, so.
Did you just say that now?
What? Mom's in.
And your mom's gonna think I'm doing this.
No, not right now. Not right now, it's all done. On my mom's, like,
You said it like 5 minutes ago. And your mom was we got you in my phone. Like 3 minutes ago.
Yeah? This is like in classwork. You're not going to hand it in notes. Because I want you guys to learn what we're getting at. Okay? This is the next big idea. So we've stopped equivalence now. So we're moving. Or you can see, can you not read? You can go and take a picture. Okay. Be faster. Yes. It's obviously 100% anyway. It's obviously 100% anyway.
He gets to calm down, it's not big. Oh my god, you get even more fucking. And your mom would do that.
My mom's like,
That makes sense, right?
You said something wrong. Oh my god. We're gonna take that. No, just beat the fuck out of you.
I was doing this.
Sorry.
You don't take your extra.
Oh my god. Yeah, but you said the airport that is broken is big. No way. Yo, Meg, are you going on Saturday?
Yo, me.
Oh my god. You said she's fucking beautiful. I don't know if you do that.
Yeah, you can't use the shortcut for number 3. Just split it up into Pythagorean. Here. 3, 6, height. Okay.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
For the second one, do I do this straight into the calculator? Or do I do 2 square?
What do you do? Power of 3.
I just do 2 and then, or am I just supposed to do times?
Times.
Okay.
Why did it work? Oh, what?
Let's bet that we can do these 3 triangles instead, boys.
What page is it?
127. So don't use the shortcut. Use the Pythagorean. Okay. Yeah.
Why did it say square root 3?
So it's 2 times root 3. So it's just a number. Root 3, the square root of 3 is a number. But if you did square root of 3, you would get a decimal. I think you would get like 1 point something.
1.73.
Yeah, but 73, blah, 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 right? So to keep it as accurate as possible, they do root 3.
Oh, Vanessa, you're dead. You made a sticker. Oh, fuck, he's annoying. Put him all the
Yeah. Maybe. I have these boxes. They're not mine. So for those of you that did triangle A, what area did you get? 31.17? I got 15.58.
I got the same area for no, because
So you got the same area for all of them, which means that they are equivalent.
what's the equivalent?
Congruent means the same.
But the same like size. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So 2 congruent triangles is the same interior angles. Okay. I'll let you finish up. This is just some practice for triangles, right? So remember, you'll be able to watch this recording if ever you don't get it, okay, which would surprise me, but if you don't get it, then we can always yeah.
Because I got the same area for all of them, but it was consecutive.
Why is my tits gigantic?
Because the problem you're doing is with your root 3. Well, area of a triangle is not like times root 2. Area of a triangle is not times root divided by 2. So if you take all root 31 divided by 2,
Well, is Nick scared of us?
Alright,
Yeah.
so for those of you that did that, okay,
That's a lot.
You're lying.
Sounds
Sounds
like
like life, nothing else counts.
Oh, that means
15.58. So I'm going to show my work now. Okay. What? In the first one, technically the answer should have been 16. And in the second one, technically it would have been 16. And the third one would have been 20. If you use sig figs. Like that's it's a theory of rounding with like just a certain amount. Anyways, irrelevant. But yeah, it's okay. Okay, so here's my work. Gentlemen, Evan. Okay. So in triangle A, I did base times height divided by 2. My base was root 3. My height was 18. I divided by 2. I put this in my calculator. I get 15.58 centimeters squared. Okay. In triangle B, base times height divided by 2. So my base was 9. My height was 2 times, right? If they're glued together like this, it means times. So 2 times root 3 divided by 2. You could have also noticed, right, that 2 divided by 2, or how would I show this to you? 2 divided by 2 here cancels out. So you have 9 times root 3. 18 divided by 2 is also 9. So you end up with 9 times root 3 in both. Okay? That's why they use the root 3, was to make an easier time finding an equivalent triangle. In triangle C, it was the most difficult example where you had to use Pythag. So my base here was 3, my hypotenuse was 6, and my height was represented by variable h. Using Pythagorean theorem, I found that my height squared was 27. Okay, so my height was 5.196. Base times height divided by 2, I get the same area. Okay? So I'll let you think about that for a second. So these 3 triangles, even if they look very different, are all equivalent. Yeah. That's okay. Here you'll get the whole picture like that. So even if they're different shapes, they're all the same area, which is this idea, right, of them being equivalent. What we're going to do next is approximate the perimeter. Okay? I'll show you how to do that to prove a point. Okay? Is everyone good with this? Does it make sense how I found the area of a triangle? Okay. Right, my equivalence is just that they're all the same area. That's the only thing that's really been added on to the last time we did geometry, but the last time we did geometry was like 2 years ago. So that's why we're doing a review at the same time. Okay. If you're getting really comfortable at doing like triangles, circles, squares, rectangles, you're good. Right? The pentagon, hexagons, they're going to be the most challenging ones, but on a test or an exam, they're not going to give you as difficult as what I gave you yesterday, for example, the hexagon with 0 information. They'll give you at least a base, or at least maybe the base and the apothem. Okay? So here, we're going to move on to this. So the question in B says, calculate the perimeter of each triangle. So for this one here, okay, the base is root 3, which was about what? What did we say the square root of 3 was? 1.782? Something like that. Okay, let's approximate this to 2. make our lives easy. Okay? We know here that the height is 18, correct? So if I'm trying to find the hypotenuse always has to be the longest side. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah? Because in Pythagorean theorem, the c squared, the hypotenuse, is the sum, right? The addition of a squared and b squared. So that means that the hypotenuse here has to be over 18, right? So over 18. And then over 18, because I have two of them, right? I have this one and this one. Okay? So if we just add it up, okay, we have 2 plus 18 plus 18. So 18 plus 18 is 36. Plus 2 is
39.
38. So the area is about, the perimeter is about 38 minimum. Yeah. Okay?
Can you go to the bathroom, sir?
One at a time.
Why?
Because you don't need two people to pee.
I'm not gonna piss
I'm
with
gonna
you.
take my sweet ass. I'm taking my sweet ass time.
Okay?
You, Michelle, oh my god.
Look, I'm kissing your father.
In number here, B. So 2 times, we approximated, right, the root 3 as about 2. So here we have 2 times 2, so that's about 4. So my base here is 4, my height is 9, and my hypotenuse has to be at least 9.
Someone call you, sir.
I know,
We only wrote one.
but it's prank call.
Dude, I'm on red, holy fuck.
Okay? So do you see how I say the hypotenuse has to be at least 9? It's obviously more than 9, right? But I'm trying to just estimate here. So 9 plus 9 is
18.
18, plus 4 is
22.
22.
36. Carrot.
Okay?
Carrot.
She said.
Here, this one's the easiest one. So what's the perimeter of this shape?
It's 12, 18.
18 centimeters. Centimeters. What do we notice about the pattern?
If you divide it into it's a 9.
But what do we notice about, so all the areas were the same, right? I think that's where you were headed, Nick. Okay? But what do we notice about the perimeter? So they're different. So here I started with 38. Here I got down to 18.
Oh shit.
But they have the same area. So what do we notice? Or do we not notice anything? It's okay if you don't.
It's definitely a pattern.
I move this up. Do we see anything?
Pattern.
No? Anyone want to guess? What's the most obvious thing that you see?
Go for
They
it.
don't have the same perimeter.
So they don't have the same perimeter? Yeah. So that was our definition of equivalence, right? Is that they can have the same area, but not necessarily the same perimeter.
Decrease.
What do we notice about this shape?
Which one?
What shape? What kind of shape is this?
It's a right triangle.
This is an equivalent triangle,
Yeah.
right? And what do we notice about the area, the perimeter in comparison to all three?
It's small.
It's the smallest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's a reason why it's the smallest, okay? And this is why we're headed into this idea of optimization. So remember I told you at the beginning, oh, when you go to a store or whatever, or there's a reason why a Toblerone bar, right? Have you ever eaten a Toblerone bar, right? Is an equilateral triangle on the side. Did you ever notice that? Because if you would have picked any other shape to keep the same amount of chocolate on the inside, you would have had to have a bigger perimeter, which in a 3D shape would have been like surface area. Okay? We're going to work on this idea. So don't stress. This is the new topic. This is like the real topic of grade 11. Okay? So if you have all the skills to find the area and volume of shapes, we're only focusing on area now. Then we'll move on. Okay? So what you're going to do in groups of 2 or 3, you get to choose, is we're going to be doing the one down here. So this one should be even easier because it's just base times height for all of them. So I want you to take your sheet,
Oh my god.
when the pass comes back. Okay. One of them got thrown away. So I want you to take a paper like this, okay, and you're going to divide it up like this. Let me just draw it out. Into 5 different columns. And then you're going to split it up into shape, area, perimeter. Okay? So I want you to do something like this. Okay? So you're going to take a sheet of paper and you're going to divide it up into, well, actually here, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's not enough. Okay? Don't do like what I did. But so that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, different columns and 3 rows. Okay, this is what I want to see from your group. You only have to do 1 per group. Okay, if you want to do 1 per person, I would recommend it because it's going to be in your notes and then you'll be like, oh wow, this makes so much sense. Okay, but at the bare minimum, 1 sheet per group. If I don't see 1 sheet per group, it's a lunch date and we're going to do it there. Okay? Right? Boys, you got that? As much as I enjoy spending time with you, I think you want to enjoy your lunch too. Okay? So I want you to do this, or else we see each other at lunch. Okay? It would be so miserable, so miserable. So you're going to use the shapes. So this is here, the 3 different rows are shaped. So you can draw a little picture if you want. The area, you calculate the area, and the perimeter. They're all rectangles. So it's easy. There's no trick question. What? Here, these ones.
I'm not waiting for Rowan to read to us, but it takes forever.
It's on the same sheet in your textbook.
Why did you let him go?
I didn't let him go.
How many did he say? 6. I just go to girls' bathroom on places we can't.
If you let her, I'm going to. Yeah, you can let her go.
All right. So these are the 5 shapes that you're calculating.
Sorry for that chink first.
Area of a rectangle is what?
360.
Base and height. You have base and height in all of them. Easy stuff. Okay. There's no trick question. The area, you have to add them up.
What page is this?
127. And this is what I'm looking for. Something like this. I'm just showing. I'm showing temporarily. 127.
Can you show the other part? Like, what are the shapes?
All of them.
Oh, how many going this way?
3.
That's mine.
Wait, can you show us?
So I want you to have. Yeah. I'll show the chart here in real life. The chart is like this. So I want you to have 3 different rows. So one of them, the first one is going to be shape. You can include a little picture. And then please don't do that here. The second one is area. So I want you to find the area of all the shapes. And then the third one, I want you to find the perimeter.
So shape area.
I go to her bathroom.
Yeah.
Did you just go to the bathroom?
I didn't go.
So 1 per group. If you want to do 1 each, that's fine too.
Are we having it?
Yeah, Ronan never comes back. He takes like 30 minutes. Like, we know he's not at the bathroom right now.
That was Dave.
And he's not going to go next.
Who's Dave? I don't know.
That's what we do.
Yes.
Might stop.
At least try it. Fill out the sheet. Do you need a piece of paper?
No, I have to keep here. So y'all have the urge to do this.
This is about teaching yourself the pattern. You're gonna understand very quickly.
What page is it?
127 in the red textbook.
Definitely not.
What?
Well, I'm getting new ones after school.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. I'm out there. The other one's broken.
I already fucked the.
I'm asking for the.
No, but the other one's like fucked up. Yeah, definitely. Get them out already.
Can I use it?
I'm using it right now.
What about that?
That's an easy
Across the street.
That's square.
What about past that district?
It's all good. You learn today.
Last year, we were fucking houses, and I'm
You're working in a team of 3? I wanna see something.
Oh,
This is 3 times height. But I gotta see it. Maya, we're gonna watch a movie. You're gonna work with them? Or do you wanna make your own? So we're doing this thing like this. So you can divide your paper, shape, area, and perimeter, and then you just solve it with 5 shapes. So it's all base times height.
12,
No, I'm not putting down 20.
9,
Yeah, but you've done it.
FaceTime.
Okay, but I'm gonna be the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I don't give a shit if it's not. I'm gonna get that 21 exam. I get a 21 exam to graduate, and I still pass. I have enough credits. Alright. Right now, I have enough credits. I already have my lessons.
Where do you want to go to do poster? Where do you want to go?
I don't know. That's how it's been
But you know what?
Easy stuff. Nothing too hard. Triangles are hard.
I acted like I'm 75 average. Really, the thing about all of this.
What is
Yeah. I was asking, what's your name again? Yeah, Miss Cattery, any program you want to go to, 65. Same with like 60. I think the highest one I got was 67.
Are you serious? That's your
They're all 35. Sure.
Is
The
it
last triangle says 6 and 6, right?
6 and 6? Yeah.
No,
Who are you working with?
6 times 6. Not 6 times 6.
With the 2 boys?
You're gonna apply for college now.
Yeah, no, like,
They
it's
open up or-
still complete.
Yeah, but you're
Yeah, it's all like 6
trying-
times 6.
Yeah, no, that's wild. I'm not stressed. Like, I literally have never stressed about school.
There's no point.
I don't know, it used to matter. Now it doesn't.
Some programs.
I'm so sorry that you missed.
Okay, now let's start with 74 is A, B is
Who you gonna go to?
See a pattern?
There's a big thing.
Another job.
The bigger
and it's
But if this is not, if this is not,
okay, well,
closer together.
yeah.
The closer together the numbers on sides are, the smaller.
Oh my god, you don't have a code?
What do you have?
I guess.
What average you have?
Is that your 60?
So she has the
So
shape
you're
overall.
yeah. Your
She
perimeter,
just looks
you
like
get a smaller
square.
perimeter area.
Those shoot down there, you know.
So define a rectangle. With 24 centimeters squared is the area. You get a smaller. If I take you find a rectangle, 36 centimeters squared. What do you think? Do you think that there's a more optimal shape?
Do you mean like a different?
If it has to be a rectangle.
Every day.
Well, you're gonna see, and then after all. It's either you do it now or at lunch.
No.
So it's
No.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, judge your face every day. I guess so. You show up like one day, you have like a little bit of makeup on, and like, oh, yeah, what the fuck is that? You walk out and you come up, guys, and you find me on you feel your nice, like, go home. Okay. You don't deserve to be here. That's all you have to write.
So which one's the lowest? Which is what kind of shape? It's gonna help you, I promise. Okay? Okay, so we're gonna go through this, and you'll give me the answers, and we'll fill it in together. So if you're not done, you can just copy from here. So A, B, C, D, and E. Right? Okay, gentlemen. Nicholas? Yeah. What's your question? Hi. Okay. Thank you. All right. So what's the area of A? 36 point. Just 36? So it's 36 centimeters squared. And this, you probably realize, is the same throughout. Right? So the area stays the same. Okay? Here, the perimeter was what in shape A? 74. In B, 40. C, 30. D, and E, 24. 24?
Yeah.
So for those of you, this is the foundation, William. William? William. Okay? We're doing this. That's why we're talking about it now. Okay? So here, what do we notice about the perimeters? Yep. So they're decreasing. Which one is the perimeter the smallest?
24.
24, which is what shape?
Square.
A square. So the square, thank you. The square is our most optimal shape. Evan. Evan.
That's my name.
Do you want to go back to your seat? We're done. So square is most optimal four-sided shape.
It's
So
supposed to
you
be
want to
so
treat one. And then you say, yeah. The exam's at 1.
Okay?
So he was at
So if you are constrained to a four-sided shape, a square is going to be the most optimal situation. Okay? So if someone says, right, I need a square package that holds or I need a package that's a rectangular prism that holds 100 centimeters squared, you say the optimal would be a 10 by 10. Okay? It's a square. Okay? Let's see, okay, if I had a triangle that had to hold the same area, which is 36. So it would be 6 times 12 divided by 2. For example, the perimeter of a triangle is going to be even more for an equivalent shape. Okay? Does that make sense? So let's say I had my cube that was 36 centimeters squared. You ain't ever leaving again. That was 40 minutes. I'm going to stay here next time. Okay? I don't think you can find a soccer ball in the Okay? So as the number of sides increases, it becomes more optimal, which means that the perimeter decreases. Okay? So that means that a regular pentagon, okay, has a smaller perimeter for the same area as this square. Okay? So if I keep increasing the shape, and we can do this quickly, this is what I'm trying to get at here. Okay? So as you can see, as the number of shapes increases, the perimeter decreases. But what shape is this starting to look like? A circle. So you'll realize how many sides are in a circle. So infinite, right? In a circle, there are infinite amount of sides. That's why we have to use pi r squared, or 2 pi r, to find the circumference, right? So the closest you get to a circle, that's the most optimal shape, okay? So if a question asks, for example, you want to package a new type of food in a different, right, a two-dimensional food or a cookie in some sort of packaging, what shape would you bake the cookie? Okay? You'll say a circle, and then after the second option, right, would be the highest number of sides possible. Okay? So this is what we're going to be doing next time. So using that logic, it's possible I went too fast, so I'm going to just repeat that last part next class. So don't worry about it too much. But next class, you should be able to place these 9 regular polygons in order from, so increasing perimeter, if they're all equivalent. So they all have the same area. Looking at this picture and using that logic, you should be able to say which one will have the greatest perimeter and which one will have the least amount of perimeter. Ronan, you missed like 40 minutes of class, and now you're throwing a soccer ball around. It doesn't take 40 minutes to do that.
I don't think he knows.
Yeah, I know what Joanna is, but that's not your job. Your job is to be here. So I want to see, okay, most of you already showed it to me. If you don't have, can I just borrow this for a second? If you don't have this completed, we're staying for lunch, with the exception of those of you that didn't do it. Wait, everybody sit for the chair. If you didn't do this per group. Okay. No. I just want to see. Who didn't do it? Per group.
Did this?
She wasn't here. This.
The first thing we did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it.
Are we going to be able to do our memory with you? Like,
Ideally, you have them with you, and I'll tell you when to write something down.
Should I? Okay.
But I can't tell you exactly, like, that goes against the school policy. But I can
our
recommend.
teacher from last
But like, for grade 11, it's more autonomy.
And you at least for
But she tells you, like, I think you should write this. That's what I tell you.
well, no, actually, like, what about last year she made it and then she gave it to us. What
Really?
if, like,
Rather,
you just gave
rather
us,
than
like,
speak
a
like
sheet of, like, all the subjects on it?
Oh, okay.
Just like a list of the subjects.
Yeah.
Well, you can't go.
I can do it.
Okay, family.
That's it for today. So today what we did, we reviewed what equivalence was. Equivalence is two shapes or more. William? Equivalence is two shapes or more with the same area. If you know that, you're still golden. Now we're going into optimizing the perimeter. So if there are equivalent areas, how do we optimize the perimeter? That's what we're going for. So expect, right? We're expecting a test/quiz mid next week. Okay? Because we're wrapping up. We'll do a test/quiz on 2D shapes, and then we'll learn 3D shapes, and then we'll have a test on quiz on that, and it's over for this chapter.
I'll be like,
I'm just asking a question.
I'll be like, it's like,
And optimization is just reducing the perimeter given a specific Josh, did you finish your assignment? That was for today? This, not this one.
obviously we won't do it.
This one?
I think I have it like in my bag.
Okay.
Oh yeah, when what's it called? When Jesse did
What the fuck is that?
when Jesse did what's it called?
Are you still cold? Or warm, I mean? Are you still warm?
After school, we're home, we do have